Alright, this video is still page 221. We're on the third part of it. We're going to try to complete the rest of the page. We're on number 21. Number 21 reads, 75% of blank peaches is 15 peaches. 75% means 75 hundredths. The of term is unknown. The is term is 15. The is the part. And how would I get from 15 up to 75? Or how would I get from 75 down to 15? I would divide by 5. 75 divided by 5 is 15, so 100 divided by 5 is 20. The unknown number is 20. It's 20 peaches. Number 22. 9 stores is 3% of blank stores. 3% means 3 hundredths. 9 is the is term. 9 is the first term. Of is the unknown, so I don't know this number. And then I noticed to get from 3 to 9, I would multiply by 3. So to get to from 100 to unknown, I would multiply by 3, and I would get 300. Moving on. Number 23. At a shelter, 15% of the dogs are puppies. There are 60 dogs at the shelter. How many are puppies? So we know that 15% means, I'm going to write 23 right here. We know that 15% means 15 hundredths. I know that there are 60 dogs at the shelter, but 15% of them are puppies, which means that the 60 is the bottom term, and that the puppies are unknown. And now I know that 100 and 60 aren't compatible with each other, so I need to simplify to lowest terms. And how do I simplify 15 and 100? I divide by 5. If I divide 15 by 5, I get 3, and if I divide 100 by 5, I get 20. So 15% is 15 hundredths, but it's also 3/20ths simplified. And what do I notice about my terms now? I brought this whole term down here. What do I notice now? I notice that to get from 20 to 60, I multiply by 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. The answer is 9 puppies. I'm on number 24. Number 24 reads, Carl has 200 songs on his MP3 player. Of these songs, 24 are country songs. What percent of Carl's songs are country songs? When it says right here what percent, that means I don't know the percent. So I can put my percent over here as I don't know out of 100. And over here, I know that there's a total of 200 songs, and that 24 of them are country. So 24 is the part, and 200 is the whole. And then I notice that to get from 200 to 100, I divide by 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12. 12 out of 100 is 12%. Moving on. We are on number 25 and 26. Number 25 reads, the sales tax in the town where Amanda lives is 7%. Amanda paid $35 in sales tax on a new stereo. What was the price of the stereo? So we know 7% means 7 100ths. And we know that she paid $35 in sales tax. Now, is the 35 going to be the first term or the second term? Well, let's think about that. The entire price of the stereo should be the total. So that means we don't know the price of the stereo. But we do know that 35 is how much she paid in sales tax. And we know that 7% is the sales tax. So it's set up correctly because 7% is 35. We don't know the total. That's unknown. But now I can use my math facts to figure this out. 7 times 5 is 35. 100 times 5 is 500. The answer, 500. Number 26. Ashton is saving money to buy a new bike. He needs $120, but only has 60% saved so far. How much more money does Ashton need to buy the scooter? So I know that 60% means 60 hundredths. And I know he needs 120, but he has only saved 60%. So where does 120 go? How much does he need for the entire purchase? It's 120. How much has he saved so far? We don't know. He has saved 60%, but we don't know how much that is. So now I look at my terms and I recognize that 60 and 100 is not compatible, but it could be if I simplify. What I'm going to do here is just divide by 10, and I'll show you why. If I divide these by 10, what do I get? 6/10. Now what I do is I multiply by 12 because 10 times 12 is 120. So 6 times 12 is 72. And a lot of kids want to write 72 as the answer here. But 72 is not the answer. 72 is how much he has saved so far. He has saved 60% so far. And so he has saved 72. It doesn't ask how much he has saved. It asks how much he still needs. So there's one more step in this problem. I now need to take how much the scooter buys, and I need to subtract how much he has saved, this number right here, and this is going to tell me how much he needs. It's poor writing, I'm sorry about that. I'm going to borrow here, and 10 minus 2 is 8, and I'm going to borrow again, and 11 minus 7 is 4. It's $48, that's how much he still needs. If you get 72 there, you did all the math right, but you didn't read it carefully. He has saved 72. He still needs to save 48. All right. Couple more. We've got 27 and 28. I think I'm going to get rid of my whiteboard here. 27 reads, Monica paid sales tax of $1.50 when she bought a new bike helmet. If the sales tax rate was 5%, how much did the store charge for the helmet before tax? So what we do here is we recognize that 5% means 5/100ths. And we recognize that she paid the sales tax, which was going to be the part, $1.50. And how much was the bike helmet? We don't know. Now, $1.50 is not the best number. It's not the easiest number here, but it's going to work. We're going to make it work. We're going to simplify to the unit rate by dividing 5 and 100 by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 100 divided by 5 is 20. And I'm going to rewrite these numbers down here. And here's how this is going to make sense. This term is saying that 1 to 20, and this term is saying 150. That's just 1.5. Well, how would you get from 1 to 1.5? You would multiply by 1.5. That's it. Anything times itself is going to be, you can multiply 1.50. It doesn't matter. 1 times 1.5 is $1.50. So when you multiply that times 1.5, you're going to multiply this times 1.5. And so what I'm going to do here, I actually wrote that out wrong. It's not. It's 1.5. So I'm going to do 20 times 1.5. I'm going to set this up like this. 1.5 times 20. I'm going to put that 0 off to the side because I'm actually not going to use it to multiply. I'm just going to annex it to the end of my answer. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. And then move my decimal over once, and I'm going to get 30. And that's the answer. It's $30. All right, number 28 reads, use the circle graph to determine how many hours per day Becky spends on each activity. And I talked to you a while ago about the 10% method. That's going to be super handy here. Like, for example, I'm going to do eating first. Eating is 10% of her day. Well, how can we figure that out? What is 10% of any number? Well, 10% of a day. Well, how many hours are there? There's 24. 10% of 24 is, well, it's just 1/10 of 24. Well, if 24 ended at 0, we just drop the 0. Since it doesn't, we're going to insert a decimal. 10% of 24 is 2.4. It's that simple. 10% means to just insert the decimal in between the terms. It's 2.4. So that one's pretty simple. And there's another one on there that's 10%. It's going to be homework. Homework is 10%. And I actually didn't write that. I wrote 24. It's supposed to be 2.4. Homework is also going to be 10%, so that's also going to be 2.4. That was easy. So we're done with those. Now we've got school. School is 25%. This one right here, 25%. What's 25% of 24? This one's pretty easy also, because what does 25% mean? 25% means a fourth. What's a fourth of 24? Fourth of 24 is taking 24 and dividing it into 4 equal sections. It's dividing by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So school is 6 hours. Sleep is 40%. Right here, 40%. How can you do that one? I'm going to do that 10% method again. 10% method. 10% of 24 is 2.4. And 40% is how much greater than 10%? Well, it's 4 times greater. So if you're going to figure out 10% and then you need to use it to figure out 40%, you're just going to multiply by 4. So I'm going to do 2.4 times 4 and I'll have 40%. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Move my decimal once, it's 9.6. And free time is 15%, and I can figure that one out pretty much mentally using the 10% method. 10% of 24 is 2.4. And 15% would be just adding on another 5. Do you recognize that 10 plus 5 is 15%? Does that make sense to you? Well, how does 5% compare to 10%? It's half. So if 10% of 24 is 2.4, 5% is just going to be half of that. What's half of 2.4? Half of 2 is 1, and half of 0.4 is 0.2. So if I add these up to get 15%, I need to add these up to get the number of hours. It's going to be 4 plus 2 is 6, and 2 plus 1 is 3. It's going to be 3.6, and that's the answer. All right, that one is a little bit tricky. If you have questions about it, please feel free to ask. Okay, good job. You're done with page 221.